I'm about to test one of your core beliefs. Now, you've told me time after time after time on this program that if your team is going to be bad, you might as well start the young guy. If your offense is going to be bad anyway, you might as well start the young guy. How does that apply to the Green Bay Packers?
Oh, that was not where I thought you were going. Okay. How does that apply to the Packers? Don't pay your quarterback $200 million and then decide that you want to go to the young guy. I still don't understand why Jordan Love is still on the Packers if Aaron Rodgers is going to be the quarterback for the next 2 years of the Packers. But I guess he didn't have any value, so he served them better as a backup quarterback than he does getting traded for a 5th-round pick to Washington.
So to clarify, you're saying that if this season gets any worse, because I couldn't imagine a game any worse than losing to the Lions that had the 32nd ranked defense in football. The Lions were allowing over 32 points a game. The next closest was like 28 or something like that. That's how bad the Lions defense were. And they scored 1 touchdown. So you're saying that no matter how bad it gets, that's not on the table.
Yeah, I think so, because you know what the stupidest thing about this whole thing was? Prior to last week, Aaron Rodgers was still going to make the Pro Bowl in the NFC. And that's more an indictment of the NFC doesn't have enough good quarterbacks. But after Jalen Hurts and Geno Smith, Aaron Rodgers was somehow the 3rd best quarterback in the NFC prior to last week. It's just been an abomination of a season for NFC quarterback play and NFC offense in general. Because, God, I think, is it going to be Kirk Cousins in the Pro Bowl? I mean, God damn, I think Aaron Rodgers still might make the Pro Bowl at this point, even though he threw 3 interceptions and had the abomination of the game he had against the Lions.
You know, it is kind of crazy. You actually do look at his stats and you could convince yourself in a way, well, okay, 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, 14-7. That's not too bad, right? But the truth of the matter is when you actually watch the games, when you actually put the eye test to it, this Packers offense is awful. And it's not going to get any better because they had injuries to David Bakhtiari. What's new? Always injuries to David Bakhtiari. And then that wide receiving core, the young guy, Christian Watson,
Doubs is out.
Romeo Doubs, he's hurt and seriously hurt. He got to be carted off in this last game. So he's
Aaron
probably not
Jones
back.
left in a walking boot.
Sammy Watkins is consistently hurt. So who knows how much longer he's got till the annual Sammy Watkins injury rolls out. Apparently Randall Cobb's still out there. I haven't seen him in weeks. So I don't even know what's there to fix with the Packers. They're significantly worse than the Minnesota Vikings. And for anyone that's holding out hope that this team is going to make a desperation playoff run, they're 3-6 now. And have you looked at the rest of their schedule? Because this week they get the Cowboys, and the Cowboys aren't going to be an easy win. They're coming off bye week. Then they get the Eagles at some point later in the year. And hell, I mean, at this point, if you go lose to the Lions, it's not like you can't just lose to anyone. The Chicago Bears are trending in the right direction. The Bears might get you.
Not just the Lions. It is losing to the Giants when you had a 17-point lead, losing to the Commanders, losing to Detroit. You know how Aaron Rodgers' favorite phrase is RELAX from a few years ago? I got a new one. It's OVER. It's over for the Packers. They are not making the playoffs this year because added to all those injuries is the fact that, man, that defense has really, really regressed. Man, that defense is not good for the Packers.
But let's not focus on the defense here because the defense, they allowed 15 points against, say what you want about the Detroit Lions, but one of the highest scoring offenses in the National Football League. The Lions have been putting up 30 points at will, even if it is mostly garbage time. This defense held them to 15 points. And 15 points, when Aaron Rodgers is your starting quarterback, should be enough to win you most games, if not all the games. If you told me going into the year that the Green Bay Packers defense was going to allow 15 points a game or something along those lines, I would have told you that the Packers are going to another 13-3, 14-3 season. But no, this year couldn't have gone any worse. You mentioned the losses they have. That equates to a 5-game losing streak currently for the Packers. Obviously, all these career highs or career lows, I should say, for Rodgers are coming out. And it does bring on the question of the future. Now, I mentioned the Start Jordan Love movement. Now, that has picked up a lot of traction the last few weeks. And it's mostly because Packers fans just kind of want to see what they have. You talked about the Trey Lance stuff. We go back and forth with the Trey Lance stuff all the time. You got to want to see what you have. You mentioned why was he still on this roster at this point? I mean, he's a first-round pick. You invested the draft capital. You traded up to get him. He's better on your roster than he is on someone else's roster if he's going to be a backup quarterback. But the reason why people are questioning even putting him in is you're essentially getting backup quarterback production from your starting quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. It's easy to make up all the excuses, like the wide receiving core being bad or the defense being porous at times. But Aaron Rodgers himself is not doing himself any favors. He looks mediocre out there. He looks kind of like that 2019 season where it was the Mike McCarthy's final year and everyone questioned whether Aaron Rodgers still had it. Obviously, he broke off the 2 consecutive years of being an MVP, but still, it was a rightful thing for people to question whether Aaron Rodgers still had the ability, and he proved everyone wrong. But now I don't even know. I have a hard time, even if I compare this 2019, he doesn't look the same. He just really doesn't to me.
Well, and neither does the Packers roster. So I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, we did a Packers video and we were talking about, is it Aaron Rodgers or is it the receiving core and the weapons problem? And the answer is yes to both of those. Like, that's kind of been consistent. And I think both are true even more so now when you subtract Romeo Doubs and you subtract basically Aaron Jones at this point, and you subtract Randall Cobb. It's just going to be a death spiral at this point for a season that's already lost for Green Bay.
I think the bigger issue with the production you are getting from Aaron Rodgers is when you pay a quarterback that level of contract, you're saying they're the type of quarterback that can elevate lesser talent. And that's been the tried and true conversation of debate with the Packers is like, well, you have Aaron Rodgers. Shouldn't he be able to lift people up? If you're going to pay a quarterback $50 million a year, shouldn't they be the type of quarterback that's elevating performance of a guy like Dobbs, of a guy like Watson, Sammy Watkins, all these lesser wide receivers? And we've seen Aaron Rodgers obviously do that in his career. Jordy Nelson, who knows how good Jordy Nelson was in retrospect. He had one decent year with the Raiders, but his Packers career was amazing. Was that a product of being with Rodgers? We talk about latter years of Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, and then, of course, the elevation of Davante Adams. Now, Davante Adams, of course, is knocking on Canton himself, but it took some time for that relationship to really develop, and Aaron Rodgers may have made Davante great over the course of playing with him. And now I just don't see that level of effort to get these younger guys up to that level. Maybe they're just that bad, but it's hard for me to distinguish because there was a lot of young wide receivers that kind of went in and out of that Packers locker room. I go back to MVS or Equanimous St. Brown, these guys that the Packers tried to draft and tried to integrate into their locker room in hopes that Aaron Rodgers would make them better. And they never really became anything. Even was it Amari Rodgers too is still hanging around. A guy they drafted a couple of years back, and I never.
You mean their number one receiver now? Their number one receiver now that everyone's out. Amari Rodgers
could have fooled me. I never hear his name on game days. AJ Dillon's taking a big step back, losing Aaron Jones. Like, it's going to get worse. Again,
but
if
the
it's going to get
lost
worse
at this point.
What's even the point of throwing him out there? Especially because, is he going to retire? Is he going to demand another trade this offseason? Obviously, he signed the extension, so is his leverage all gone? It would seem like it's gone.
There's no chance. There's no chance. So basically, if you see his contract breakdown, it's $100 million dead cap hit this offseason. He's going to be the Packers quarterback next year. The year after that, it's only a $24 million dead cap hit with 40-something million guaranteed, but they can restructure it down to like $29 million or something.
But in the past, he's shown a willingness to make it ugly. Make it publicly ugly.
Yeah, I
we
think
talk
that
about
we're
this all the
past
time
that.
with the NBA. Are we? Because now I'm starting
I think
to see him
so,
look even
because
more pissed off.
I think so, because he wouldn't have signed the extension if not. If you've listened to him talk about, in between talking about ayahuasca and all sorts of other stuff, like he has said, like, yeah, I sat down with the organization, we hashed it out, and ultimately came to an understanding that also included a $50 million contract extension he wasn't going to get anywhere else. But
I don't think he thought they were going to be this bad.
No, but he also has no options anymore. He has no options anymore at this point. He signed that contract that will tie him to the team for 2 years. And then after those 2 years, the Packers kind of determine his fate more than
now. Hear me out. I'll mention this trade one more time on this show. Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, make it happen. Flip flop. Trade everyone else's problems for each other.
It's fun. It's fun in practicality, but not possible in hindsight. And also, Aaron Rodgers might make the Pro Bowl this year because 3 have to make it from the NFC, but the 8 of the 10 best quarterbacks are in the AFC. So you know what? Aaron Rodgers still might end up making a Pro Bowl this year.
Okay, but that's fine and good. And, we'll look great on his football reference page when we're quantifying his career, but it will feel very Mitch Trubisky-esque.
Yeah, pretty much. This is he's basically playing like a league average quarterback.
Which is crazy. I'm comparing Aaron Rodgers here in 2022 to Mitch Trubisky.
I mean, yeah, but 2019 Tom Brady also had a worse statistical season than Mitch Trubisky. Like Mitch had one good season where he was a league average quarterback. That's what Aaron Rodgers is this year. He is a
Shout
league
out to Mitch
average
Trubisky,
quarterback.
former Pro Bowler Mitch Trubisky. You gain love here on the Slump Buster at the expense of Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Who'd have thought? Actually, he's got to win against Tom Brady, so I guess transference.
Was that him or was it Pickett this year? Did he
It
get
was
the win
Trubisky
against?
that played. It was
Okay.
technically, I want to say that was the game that Pickett started, but got hurt, and Trubisky came in and, had one of those freaky backup quarterback moments and got them the victory. Tells you how far the Bucs are. This is just a weird year for football in general, but Aaron Rodgers and the Packers certainly have not looked the better for it. Okay, this it is. I'm sorry, Packers fans. I know you had so much expectations for this year, but it's clear the Vikings are so much better than you this year. They showed that in week 1. They've continued to show it. They have way better pieces, and you know it. And then we look around the NFC, and as much as there is a bunch of mediocre teams, you've also lost to all the mediocre teams in the conference. So what does that say about you?
But the Packers went all in on the last 2 seasons. Like, remember, going into this offseason, they were $58 million over the cap. They were $58 million over the cap. This is the remnants of going all in the last 2 years.
About that, the fun part about going all in that respect is you still didn't win a championship, and you're the B version of the Los Angeles Rams, who at least when they go all in, they at least were able to come down with some hardware. Hate that as a Niners fan, but at least they did. At least they made those splashy moves. They got the Von Millers. They got the OBJs. Again, I know that's a point of contention for Packers fans. We've also had rumors this week that at the deadline, the Packers offered picks for DJ Moore. They offered picks for Claypool. They were trying to make some deadline action happen. I'm sure that Gutekunst wanted to put that out there after fans were like, why did we do anything? Gutekunst had to make it a point to say, hey, we try to make trades. No one wanted to trade with us. And I understand it from the Steelers perspective. It's okay, you want to trade with the Bears or you want to trade with the Packers? Who's more likely to have a better draft pick? The ironic part is the way the Bears are trending, there might be an opportunity for the Bears to have a better record than the Packers.
Who knows? Yeah, for those who don't know, Claypool, the Packers offered a second, the Bears offered a second, the Steelers bet on the Bears second being higher than the Packers second, and it might end up coming true, but way closer than we thought it was going to be. It's a way closer race than we thought.
It might be the difference between the 7th or 8th pick in the second round. That's what it might turn into.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of wild to think about in that context, because I mean, look, that wasn't going to fix all their problems. It was just it would have been a desperation move, and they have all these extra picks.
If Chase Claypool is fixing all your problems, you were a lot closer than you projected, but I don't think the Packers are all that close when I really think about how their team has performed this year and really have thought about the effort this team has had. I know LaFleur is feeling like he's on the hot seat, or at least it's getting a little sweaty under the collar. I just don't know what the recourse is if they decided to move off LaFleur, because he seemed like, at least at the start there, the best thing for Aaron Rodgers' career, because we obviously talk about the 2 MVPs. Was it the remotivation for Love? Is Aaron Rodgers fat and happy after signing that contract? That's something I think Packers fans.
No, he looks absolutely bleeping miserable. He looks so miserable out there. And I will have to say, like, they posted the Last Dance images. He was supposed to go. Adams was supposed to go. Tunyon was supposed to go. They were supposed to clear house the same way the Saints just did, where Breeze left and Sean Payton retired, and they left the remnants of the tire fire they spent all that money on. They left the remnants for someone else to clean up. That's what was supposed to happen. And Aaron Rodgers came back, and now he gets to be there as the whole thing implodes in front of his face.
So no Jordan Love if they lose to the Cowboys?
I mean, if you're gonna tank, might as well. If this is a tanking season, then like whatever. At that point, who cares?
What if Jordan Love comes in and is amazing? I don't see it happening, but what if that happened? Would that be funny?
That would be goddamn hilarious, because this is what they wanted to do in the first place. And then Rodgers won 2 MVPs and blew up their entire plan. I think Jordan Love would have been set up to fail either way, but it would be really funny if he comes in and starts playing well. But
now I know you're not a big TV watcher, but the show Curb Your Enthusiasm gives me life. And there's a season in which Larry David literally starts a coffee shop out of spite. I feel as though Aaron Rodgers' MVP performances are sheerly out of spite. This man just drives and lives purely off of that, injected into his veins. And I feel as though now that he doesn't have that anymore, then we're seeing the remnants of what left. We're seeing the husk of Aaron Rodgers without the spike drive.
Yes and no, because it's also like, don't look, it's like the Wizard of Oz. Don't look behind the curtain at giving up 24 points to the Patriots. Don't look behind the curtain at 23 to Washington, 27 to the Giants.
But you are also getting outplayed by Bailey Zappi, because if you're compared their yardage and their statistics, you're getting outplayed by Jared Goff. You're getting outplayed by Taylor Heineke. That's not a good look.
Yeah, but if they had a good defense, they would be 5-4 and people wouldn't be freaking out the same way they did. It's masking problems of like their offense is average and their defense is bad and their season is over because now everyone's getting hurt. Like I
would say if they had a good defense, they might have one more victory. I don't see even above 500 at this point because the offense is so bad. Again, they put up one touchdown against the worst defense. Historically trending towards historically bad defense in the Detroit Lions and the poorest unit that they put together. So you all talk about bad defenses. The Detroit Lions fit the bill of bad defenses, and the Packers couldn't do not a zilch zippo.
I don't know. They were like 5 yards away from still beating the Giants. They were like almost beating the Commanders. Like maybe they win a couple of those, but
for
like
them,
whatever.
Aaron Rodgers and LaFleur and all that can say we were 5 yards away from beating the Giants. Let's put that on the board for the offseason.
It's so bad. It's so bad. And also there's no recourse to fix it either because the problem is roster. But they knew this was going to be a problem in the first place. They just didn't think it would be as much of a tire fire as it's been this season. Because how do they go from being the 3rd ranked defense in the league to the 28th ranked defense in the league? Like, how is that even possible?
Darius Smith, who happens to go to Minnesota and just sticks it to them.
It's almost as if Devondre Campbell making the Pro Bowl and what was his name? Rasul Douglas being all pro were like shocking one-time solutions to problems that were bigger than them. Everything has been crazy in Green Bay. If you want to play Jordan Love, who cares? The season's over at this point. Maybe you tank for a top draft pick and get a top offensive lineman or something. That's going
to be the thumbnail. Should they start Jordan Love? If you were coming here just for that question, your answer, who cares? You're welcome, Packers fans. Enjoy.
Yeah, who gives a shit?
All right, guys. Well, let us know your thoughts on the current Green Bay situation in the comments section. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the Slump Buster on here and all podcasting platforms. Follow us on social media. Juju, Kyle, stay safe, happy, healthy. We will see you next time.